What's up, guys? Welcome back to another tutorial. We're going to be talking about Lua if statements and relational operators. Let's get started. Okay, first things first, let's talk about if statements. So, thus far, we have created some variables, as you can see behind me. We've created A, B, C, and we've done some printing to the screen. We've also done io.read, various things like that. I want there to be a little bit of variability, I don't know, in your script. So this is one way. What I want you to do is type if. So you're going to have your VS Code up, all that stuff, pull up your test.lua. And then you're going to type if. And right there you see that it gives you an option to select. And if you type tab or enter, what does enter do? Yeah, enter or tab, doesn't matter either way. That will autofill and kind of lay out the structure. This is very important that you get this correct. This is a part of the syntax of Lua. If you don't write your if statements correctly, the computer will not know how to interpret what you're trying to communicate. So here we have if space where the cursor is, then couple down enter a few times, return, and then end at the very bottom. So we're going to say if, and let's just say C equals. Just go ahead and type this out for now. 1, 2, 3, 4, and you need to put this in quotation marks, and I'll explain that in a little bit. Then print. This is between the then and the end. Quotation marks, correct. So we created an if statement block, if you will. We put C equals 1, 2, 3, 4. Then print correct. So you can probably figure out for yourself what that's going to do. But let's save that. And we're saving it by pressing Control S. And then down here, which has the terminal, if you don't have that terminal open, you're going to click Terminal, if I could, New Terminal, and that's going to open the one up down here in the work folder that you're in. We're going to up arrow. It might work for you. That's going to recall the last commands that you have. If that doesn't work, then you're going to type Lua and then test.lua. Now, every time from now on, after you've typed this in, you press enter, you can recall. So let's see if this is going to work. So we're going to type 3, 4, enter, and it just simply does the math of this line right here. And then goes down to this statement, and it does nothing. It doesn't put anything out to the screen. Why? Because C was not 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's run that again and type 1, 2, 3, 4. And there you go. It says correct. So what's going on? Well, it's taking, you entered in C, and it then compares C, the if does, compares C with this value, then prints it. Now, why is this in quotation marks? Because io.read, whenever you enter in information through io.read, it enters it, it accepts it as text, not as an integer and things like that. And so you're going to have to, whenever you're testing anything from io.read, you're going to have to test it as a string or a text. Now, there are other ways around this, which we'll get into later, but for now, we'll just keep it at that. Okay, so that's the bare bones of the if statement. We're going to get into a few other nuances later on in this lesson, but for now, I want to shift gears just a little bit and talk about what's going on right here. This is probably something you haven't ever seen before, 2 equal signs right after each other. So what is it? Well, this is that second topic that I wanted to talk to you about today, which is relational operators. Just an aside, if you're ever wondering how to find information about Lua functions, whatever, you can use VS Code. You can also use the internet. And in this case, I'm simply Googling Relational Operators Lua, and this will take you to the www.lua.org, hopefully you can see that, website. And there's basically a textbook that gives you all the information that you might need. And so if I could zoom in a little bit here, you'll see that relational operators, these, we know this one right here, right? We've just used that one. And as you can tell from our script, let me move this around. What happens is it compares C with that value. So this, then, the double equal sign, must mean it's like a test. It's a relational comparison. It's saying, what is the relation, or the relation between C and 1, 2, 3, 4 must be equal. It's a relation. And so it's comparing the two values, C and some static value 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, as you can see right here, there are several more relational operators, and these are fairly self-explanatory. Of course, right here you have the less than. So is C less than 1, 2, 3, 4? You're not going to be able to do that. You're not going to compare strings and say one is less than the other. That's just not a thing. Now for numbers, yes, you could do that. In what we're doing up here, it's not going to work. This one is, of course, if C is greater than. And I'm saying if C is within the context of C being an actual integer or a number, and then 1, 2, 3 actually being a number, okay? So I'm not talking about comparing text. Deviating slightly from our script. So this right here is, of course, if C is less than or equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, then that's true, right? Then this is if C is greater than or equal to. And I guess uses. So this one is if C is equal to. And then finally, this one is if C is not equal to 1, 2, 3, 4. And so what do these relational operators ultimately return? Basically true or false. So you can imagine the if statement is wanting to know, is waiting for a true or a false value. If the value comes back as true, then it will do what it is within the box there between the then and the end. And then if it is false, it will simply skip whatever that is, unless you're talking about another case. And I will get into that in just a second. Bear in mind that these are the symbols that I'm going to want you to try out this lesson. So you're going to want to refer back to this section of the video, or just go find relational operators on Google, and you can get them off of there as well. So we were talking about if this statement right here, if that statement right there, sorry, I was using the wrong mouse there. If this statement right here returns false, then what happens? Well, in this case, it will simply move on. Now, there is another addition that you can add to the if statement, and that is else. So you can see here the drop down. It gives you a few different options, and I'll probably just touch on else if, but for now we're just going to stick to else. So you hit else, and you can either, I would just press enter. Here you will then press enter again to move to a new line, and then print some sort of like incorrect. We're going to press Control S, go down to our terminal, tiny terminal. Let's make that bigger. And if I would just be able to get out of the way. Oh my goodness. All right. Lua test, it's asking for a number. Let's just enter the wrong value. And it says incorrect. Fantastic. So that is how you would deal with a return from that relational comparison. If that is false, if it's a false relational comparison, if that makes any sense, then it will go to the else. Now, lastly, what I want you to do is go to, let's just say, right before the else. We're going to press enter 2 times, go up 2 times, and then we're going to type else and hover over the else if option and press enter. This is then, as you can see, it's very similar to the if, like we just experienced. We're going to say C is equal to some other value, 5, 6, 7, 8, and make sure that's in quotation marks so that it's like text. It's a text value. Then we're going to print some sort of other statement like option 2. Option 2. And then we're going to press Control S, and I'm going to type clear in my terminal because I'm in the way. And then I'm going to up arrow, type Lua, and then it's going to ask for a number, 5, 6, 7, 8. Press enter, and it says option 2. So what just happened? Well, we typed in a value for C. Sorry, using the wrong mouse. C. Then it printed out the math that we had here before, which can be a little bit confusing looking at the outputs. However, that's what it is. And then it goes into this if statement. It says, is C equal to 1, 2, 3, 4? No. Well, we have another option. Is C equal to 5, 6, 7, 8? Ah, yes it is. So print option 2. Or else, if all of those are false, then print incorrect. Fairly simple, right? The important thing to take away from this is you've got to get your syntax correct. You've got to get all the symbols and the formatting correct for it to work. So be mindful of that as you're typing out. Don't miss your quotation marks. Don't miss your double equal. That's very important. Don't miss your then, and so on and so forth. So be sure to copy. Well, you can copy or using your provided completion VS Code function. Use that. It should help keep you within the lines, keep you from getting all off-road and stuff. So anyways, that is if statements in a nutshell. It is also relational statements and relational operators. I'm sorry. Just brief overview. Hope that helps, and good luck.